It's a pleasure having you here. You mentioned to
Thank
me
you.
that you would really like to build more income. And
Mm-hmm.
what I'm going to ask you to do in order to really figure out what is the major thought that's getting your way, the major belief that you have that's getting your way from building what you're really hoping for. Okay. So what I'm going to ask you to do is close your eyes and imagine yourself, you're over here, wherever it is you're sitting right now.
Mm-hmm.
And a bit in front of you is an image of what it is you're hoping for. So you mentioned that you want more income. So you could imagine yourself touching money, feeling it coming your way, feeling all of these people wanting to engage in business with you. You see that in the distance?
Okay.
Okay. Between you and that image, there's a space. And in that space, there's a voice that says, yeah, right, this is so not happening. This is not possible. Right. Okay. What does it have to say?
Almost like that, saying I'm not realistic. It's funny that you say, yeah, right, because that's almost how it sounds like, yeah, right, you're not realistic.
Okay. Okay. So
don't get it to my head.
So that's a thought that we're going to work with. Okay. And I want you to imagine a moment in time. It could be from yesterday. It could be this morning while you were drinking tea. It could be last week, whenever it is, when the thought that you're not being realistic was very much alive in you.
No, actually not even this morning. It was much stronger during the night when I woke up. Everything starts.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay, great. So picture yourself, you're lying in bed, and I want to give your mind the opportunity to start questioning your thinking, okay? So far you've been telling me your story, and now we're going to go into something called inquiry, where we're really asking questions, okay? And if you dip back into your story, which I call falling into the swimming pool, I'm going to remind you of that, and we'll come back into inquiry, okay? We'll just like reel our minds back in. So the first question I'm going to ask you in Byron Katie's process is it true that you're being unrealistic?
No.
So one of the things that I notice is really cool that you just did, that people do a lot in my workshops, is so Byron Katie asked two questions. One is it true? And usually we just kind of say yes, more often than not, right? Because we're believing that thought. And then she asks, can you absolutely know that it's true? And what's neat is when I asked you, is it true? What your mind did was automatically go to that second place. Can I absolutely know that it's true? And what your eyes did is you basically searched the world, so to speak. You started to scan all possibility, and I could see it in your eyes. Hopefully our audience can see that too, right? You could see in your eyes that you're like searching. You're like, well, do I know all of reality? Do I really have a grasp of all of reality? And then you realize like, oh, wow, that's really well beyond the scope of what you're capable of. And so it allowed you to say no. And being in that place of I don't know is huge, because just a few moments ago, you were very sure that you were crazy.
I'm still sure that I'm crazy, but now in another aspect.
But you're at least willing to question it a little bit. We've gone up a step. Great. Okay. So now what I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes and put yourself back into the situation. You're lying in bed. Your mind is reeling, and you're believing the thought that you're not being realistic. And I want you to notice, how do you react when you believe that thought? What happens to you? Like, what happens in your body, for example?
Oh, I can tell you it immediately right now.
Okay.
I don't even have to go back there. I have to go. Yeah, no, it's like I get very hot, very hot. I have to go back to the toilet because like I have a stomach ache, and I have to immediately, I have diarrhea. Sorry for the being so explicit, but it's like I have a very strong physical reaction to that. Like it's almost panic.
It's not almost panic. It actually kind of is. So I actually, in the last session that I did with Charlene Hertz, I mentioned to her how our bodies, when we're believing something that's not true, what our bodies do is go into a stress response.
Oh, and
immediate, right? And so what's interesting is that one of the things that the body does when it goes into fight or flight, when it goes into an adrenal state, is it shuts down systems that are no longer necessary.
Hang on a second. 2 steps back. You're
Yes.
saying that our bodies go into a stress response because we're thinking something that we don't believe?
So check this out. It's not
Yeah.
that we're thinking something we don't believe. We're thinking something that's not true.
Holy smokes.
Okay.
Okay.
And how do we know that that's the case? Because that's how lie detector tests work. They're measuring the body going into a stress response. So if I were to sit here and say, I'm a man, and I was connected to a lie detector test, so my body would go into a stress response, and that's how the test would know that I'm lying.
So if I am connected to a lie detector, and I say I am being unrealistic, it would notice a stress response.
Yes.
Wow, that is
Isn't that so cool? Yeah.
That is absolutely cool.
Really cool. So what's neat?
Wow, I'm gonna buy a lie detector test.
Well, no, you already have one. All I did was say, what happens in your body? And you right away knew. It's like, all you have to do is just pay attention, and your body's telling you all the time. You don't need the machine, you know. And
You're
for
blowing
you,
my mind.
right? So cool, right? So one of the things that happens when we go into a stress response is, in addition to our heart racing and our breathing growing shallow, our blood goes to our extremities so that we have like a lot of muscular strength to run, which is why our muscles tighten and we get like stiff. But the other thing that happens is that the immune system shuts down, because if we're in danger, a little virus is not a big deal. And your digestive system shuts down. So some people get constipated and some people get diarrhea. And they're both ways of the body saying, like, I can't deal with food right now. So your body is like, let's just get rid of it as quickly as possible so we can deal with the danger. Other people's body is like, we're just shutting down, right? Like it's closed shop.
Wow.
So either way, so that was really cool. As much as you're like, wow, that was kind of embarrassing to share that thing with like the whole world, I'm sure there are so many other people who experience the same thing, that when they get nervous and jittery, their digestive system totally behaves all wonky. So it's like totally accurate. Okay. So now I want you to focus on, again, you're lying in bed and you're believing the thought that you're being unrealistic. What are you unable to do when you're believing that thought?
I'm unable to act. I've learned to talk myself down by, especially if it happens during the night, that the part of my brain that plans is not awake yet. Thank God it's not. And not to listen and give into the panic at that moment. But it also happens during the day. It's just that the physical response during the night is the strongest. During the day, I have a panicky feeling, but I don't have to go run to the toilet to say it like that. But I have that same like knot in my stomach. I can feel it in my breathing, and I cannot at that moment. Yeah, I think the right way is to act, and what I mean is act in. I don't see a perspective. I don't see a way out.
So your vision goes like this.
Yeah.
Really narrow. Yeah. It's another one of the things that happens when we go into fight or flight is our vision gets really narrow. So what we're going to do now is we're going to explore doing this. Okay. And the first way we do that is close your eyes and imagine yourself in bed, and you're not believing the thought that you're being unrealistic. It turns out that thought has decided to go on vacation to Hawaii.
I don't even want it to go to Hawaii. It's going to go to the North Pole.
To the North Pole. It's
I
gone
want to have fun.
A trekking vacation to the North Pole. And there you are without the thought that you're being unrealistic. How are you without the thought?
Yeah, joyful and light.
Which is what you're hoping to get from growing your business anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we have 4 questions. Is it true? Can you absolutely know that it's true? Which for you are kind of combined. And then the third question is, how do you react when you believe the thought? The fourth question is, how are you without the thought? And now we're going to go into what I think is like Byron Katie's genius of introducing something called turnarounds, where we're going to say the opposite.
Who are you quoting? What's
Byron Katie. We're going through her process of doing the work with sprinklings of my own little tools here and there. Okay. So in her process, the last step of the process, she gives us an opportunity to explore new ways of thinking by really learning the lessons that the thought has to teach us. Okay. And the way you can learn those lessons is by saying the opposite of the thought. So in this case, you have, you're being unrealistic. Pick one of those words to say the opposite of.
You're being realistic.
Okay. So now, in order to give that thought an opportunity to live within you, it needs to have some legs to stand on. And we know that in order for something to stand, it needs like at least 3 legs. So we need at least 3 pieces of evidence, because you've been giving lots of evidence to the unrealistic thought, right? So we're going to give some evidence over here so we can at least like balance the scales a little bit. So what's some evidence, at least 3 pieces of evidence of why it's true that you're being realistic?
I've done it in the past, before Alia. People that I tell about my business or what I want to bring into the world or what I want to do for the kids are all having a very positive response. Being told that it's needed. I love what I do. And I love what I do because of the change that I see in kids, which means results, but I'm not even so much connected to that. And I just have a passion for what I do.
And the passion is a reflection of there being something real there. You're not imagining it.
No, I in all my worries, I get disconnected to that. But if I open my box of thank yous and recently wedding invitation of a child that was such a big mess and now got married, and said that what he is now was thanks to our work together, then that is evidence. And that's why I do it. But it's the money part that seems then the unrealistic part.
Yeah, that doesn't speak to me because they go together. Okay,
right.
So let's say another opposite, right? So you're being realistic. Another opposite is, you could say the opposite of being or the opposite of I. And you're going to need help with the I part.
Yeah.
So what's opposite of being?
Not being.
Yeah, that's the only one I can come up with. Yeah. So you're not being unrealistic. So you're not being unrealistic. How are you not being unrealistic?
By being realistic.
Well, give me some 3 pieces of evidence for this one. How are you not being unrealistic?
Wow. How am I not being unrealistic?
What would, if you were really honest with yourself and you were to create a totally unrealistic business?
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, I could maybe sell people, balloons that last forever. That's an unrealistic business. Or I could sell people on me being an Olympic skier. That would be unrealistic.
Wow, that's how far you would go. Because
yes.
my immediate thought is like, open a Macollet would be unrealistic for me because I would hate it. But I see where you're going.
Right. But you could open up a store. You just wouldn't want to. Right. But that's actually very realistic. You could open up a store.
Exactly. Right? I understand where you're going. Okay. So what is me
like what you're doing is so within the realm of reality that you want to offer people a product that a service that makes massive transformation in people's lives. You have tons of evidence of it and people need it, and it's a service that people want to pay for. That sounds really realistic.
Yeah. You're yeah. Uh-huh. I immediately have counter arguments like, the problem is people don't want to pay for it, or people can't pay for it. But okay, no, but I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. Wow. So,
right? So the challenge is when you believe that people don't want to pay for it, what happens? How does your behavior change when you believe the thought that people don't want to pay for it?
you're totally underselling yourself the whole time.
Maybe you're more shy. You're not willing to put yourself out there as much. You're not willing to network as much because you just assume that people are going to say no.
No, thank you. So,
okay, so you've got
this is like taking a torch and going, that's where it is. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Pleasure. So we've got one more turnaround, and that is if you take the word I. So in this case, like if you were judging somebody else, so you'll always want to turn the thought back around, because really the work that needs to happen is within you. So if I thought, for example, if I was judging you as being unrealistic, I could turn it around and be like, oh, I'm being unrealistic. And I could see how I have work to do. Okay. But in this case, I gets turned to my thinking. So my thinking is being unrealistic. And you could see that you're over here, and then there's the thoughts that come through over the course of the day. Like you didn't wake up in the middle of the night and say, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to think this thought that I'm being unrealistic.
Yeah, no.
Right? And you're like, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn on my heart right now, and it's going to start beating so that I have enough energy to go to the bathroom. Like we don't do that, right? So you're thinking, just like your heart is supposed to be your servant to get you through the day, your thinking is supposed to be your servant, ideally.
Yeah.
Right? But in this case, your thinking is trying to be your master.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it.
Right? So how would your thinking, so you notice how your thinking is being unrealistic by totally warping reality and not serving you. What would be some ways that your thinking could be more of service to you and be your horse rather than your master?
It's almost saying like, you're not the boss of me. That sounds like a kid would say it, but it's like saying to your thinking, you don't control me.
So what would be some thoughts that your thinking could feed you that would be very helpful?
Who have you helped? How do people react?
Because that's the reality. The reality is you've helped all these people. When you're believing that you're being unrealistic, you forget about all those clients you've helped.
It's amazing how my head is screaming counter arguments right now. And it's almost like I know what you're going to say, because it's like, no, but no, but, wow. Okay.
Right. Okay. So our ego wants to hold on to its story as much as possible because it's like part of how it stays alive. And so we don't have time for it right now, but what I would recommend you do is give that voice a chance to speak and write out everything it has to say. Just go crazy and just write and write and write and write and write. That's what I call a rant. You can go to the bonus section of my website. I'll send you the link and I'll also post it below. You can go to the bonus section of my website and download a rant worksheet, which is really just what I'm saying. It's just like a blank piece of paper, and you just write and write and write and write. And then read what you wrote and try to pull out all of the beliefs that you have written down, or the beliefs that you can sort of see are under the surface. And for example, I'm unrealistic because no one will ever pay for my services. Like that's another belief that you could explore. Do you get?
Okay.
And we could go through this same process of asking, is it true? Can I absolutely know that it's true? How do I react when I believe the thought? How am I without the thought? And what are the opposites of the thought that I can explore? And that would be the way that you could get through all of these different thoughts. Because what you've done around this issue is you've built what I call a Tower of Babel, right? Where all of these thoughts are like pillars in the tower, and each one has to get knocked down until eventually the building becomes unstable and the whole thing crumbles. but you have a whole bunch of other pillars still in this building. And so there's a part of you that's like, oh, wait, I'm exploring different ways of thinking, but there's enough pillars to the building. I'm like, I'm not totally ready to let it go. Right?
Wow, it's amazing. I can see the pillars. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's basically it. So that's a process that I recommend you do. And for now, I think it's really cool for you to just remember that you have, you're being realistic. You're not being unrealistic, and your thinking isn't doing a good job of reminding you of the reality of how much success you've had with people in the past, and to keep reminding yourself of those new statements and integrate them into your life on a day-to-day basis so they become a part of who you are.
Okay.
Cool.
Chana, do you work with teenagers?
Yes. I work with people of all shapes and sizes and ages. Yeah, I do.
And you also work by Zoom with teenagers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll connect you.
Okay, great. It would be a pleasure.
Really amazing. I'm like, okay, I thought I was doing you a favor, but turns out you're doing me a favor.
Well, that's the goal, right? That we both help each other out. So I'm going to send you a link to my author page, and you can download the book that I wrote is free on Amazon. So you can download it and read it. And then in there is like the bonus section of my website that has all these different worksheets that you can use and have a field day with it.
I will have a field day with it. I can also see how far back some of these thoughts go.
Totally. Yeah. Most of our core beliefs we develop when we're 3 to 7 years old. So, but it's such a simple process. It's like so easy to teach the kids. It's so easy to like put the list of questions and give it to somebody else. And like, I do it with a lot of nuance, and I know how to use it better than the average Joe, but even the average person can just use it, and it's a great tool. So in my book, I go through step by step, like so many different ways of using the tools and tools around the tools. It's great. So enjoy it.
What fantastic.
Thanks.
So that your book is free on Amazon, or you send me a link to the book?
I'm going to send you a link to the book. It's free on Amazon. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Bless you.
You too. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.